Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking you on a journey to Nigeria, specifically January 7th, 2025.
Okay.
We've got a stack of news headlines, some interesting economic figures,
Yeah.
and even a few did-you-know facts to give you a sense of what life was like on that day, thousands of miles away.
It's fascinating because we're not just looking at a collection of news stories, we're actually
Yeah,
getting a glimpse into the heart of a nation, the political climate, the economic landscape, and those everyday human moments that connect us all.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to explore some of the most attention-grabbing headlines, then connect them to the larger trends and issues shaping Nigeria in 2025.
Sounds good.
Are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's see what January 7th, 2025 has in store for us.
Okay, so one headline that immediately caught my eye was ISWAP raid on Borno military base kills 6 soldiers. That's a stark reminder of the ongoing conflict in the region.
It really is ISWAP. The Islamic State West Africa province has been a major destabilizing force in the region for years.
Yeah.
Their attacks on both military targets and civilians have created a climate of fear and displacement, and this particular headline sadly illustrates the very real human cost of this conflict.
And it's not just conflict that Nigerians are dealing with. There's also China virus.
Yeah.
NCDC reactivates COVID-19 protocols. It sounds like a possible resurgence of the virus, a reminder that global health challenges can linger.
Yeah, it absolutely underscores how interconnected our world is.
Right.
What happens in one part of the world can quickly have ripple effects elsewhere, even years later.
Then there are the headlines hinting at economic stress like unpaid entitlements, military retirees resume protests today, that speaks to the government's challenges in meeting its financial obligations,
Yeah.
especially when we see another headline stating retirement, top generals get $20,000 medical allowance, bulletproof SUV, others.
Wow.
There seems to be a disconnect there.
Yes, the contrast is quite striking, and it raises important questions about the allocation of resources and potential inequalities within the system.
Now let's talk about the Dangote refinery. It's this massive success story, the world's largest single-train petroleum refinery. But there's a headline that reads, marketers raise alarm over losses at Dangote refinery. That seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does. While the refinery itself is a remarkable feat of engineering and a symbol of Nigerian ingenuity, the concerns raised by marketers suggest potential deeper issues. Perhaps there are internal logistical challenges or maybe external market forces are at play that are impacting profitability.
Yeah.
It definitely warrants further investigation.
And speaking of economic forces, we see Airtel's tariff hike, citing a 300% surge in operating cost. That kind of price increase in telecommunications has got to have a real impact on people's daily lives and their ability to do business.
It absolutely does in today's world. Reliable and affordable communication is essential.
Right.
A price hike like this could affect everything from individual connections with family and friends to the operation of businesses and access to information.
So we're already seeing a picture of Nigeria grappling with economic complexities.
Yeah.
Now let's shift our focus to the political landscape.
Okay.
We see a major event happening. Tinubu, 20 African heads of state, others to attend Mahama's inauguration in Ghana.
Interesting.
What's the significance of this gathering?
Well, on one level, it signifies the importance of regional diplomacy. Having so many African leaders present at Ghana's presidential inauguration sends a strong message of unity and collaboration.
And what about Tinubu's presence specifically?
Right.
He's set to be inaugurated as Nigeria's president soon.
His attendance at this event suggests he's actively engaging in regional politics, possibly building alliances, or seeking to solidify his position on the continental stage even before his own inauguration.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But there are also signs of internal political tensions.
Okay.
We see a story about 60 Media Yoruba ready to exit Nigeria, UK studying request, a statement from Yoruba leader Akintoye. For those unfamiliar, the Yoruba are one of the largest ethnic groups in Nigeria, and this statement alludes to long-standing desires for self-determination by some within the group.
This brings to light the deep-seated ethnic and political divisions that Nigeria has been grappling with for decades.
Right.
The idea of secession is highly sensitive and controversial, and the statement underscores the frustrations felt by some segments of the population.
Then there's this rather unusual story. Court grants N10 meters bail to lady detained for threatening Tinubu's son, IGP. The IGP, for our listeners, is the Inspector General of Police, the head of the Nigerian police force.
Yeah.
This story seems out of place, but does it tell us anything about the political climate?
It might seem like an isolated incident, but it raises questions about freedom of speech and potential abuse of power.
Yeah.
Why was this woman detained for what appears to be a relatively minor offense?
Right.
It makes you wonder if there are attempts to suppress dissent or criticism of those in power, even before they officially take office.
So on this single day, in January 2025, we're seeing a snapshot of Nigeria facing a complex mix of challenges. Security threats from groups like ISWAP, economic instability, and a politically charged atmosphere.
It's a lot.
But are there any glimmers of hope in the news?
Actually, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a headline that reads, Indorama, Dangote Fertilizer led non-oil exporters in October CBN. The CBN is the central bank of Nigeria, and this indicates that the country is making strides in diversifying its economy away from oil dependency.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Is this a sign that Nigeria is moving towards a more stable and sustainable economic future?
It's certainly a step in the right direction if this trend continues. It could lead to more resilient growth, less vulnerability to fluctuations in oil prices, and new opportunities for various sectors of the Nigerian economy.
It's like a small seed of hope amidst the challenges.
Yeah.
A sign that positive change is possible.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that even in the face of complex issues, there are always individuals and organizations working towards a better future.
It's interesting how these headlines offer us a glimpse into the daily lives of Nigerians. For instance, there's a tragic story about the Sokoto SSG, the secretary to the state government. Sokoto SSG loses daughter, 3 grandchildren.
It's a heartbreaking reminder that amidst the larger political and economic landscape, personal tragedies still occur, touching individual lives in profound ways.
Yeah, it's a humanizing element that connects us all. And then we see a headline that seems a bit out of place. Spanish tourist killed by an elephant while bathing animal in Thailand.
This might appear unrelated to our deep dive into Nigeria, but it actually highlights how interconnected our world is through the constant flow of information.
Right. It also reminds us that unexpected events and dangers can happen anywhere, even when we're far from home.
Speaking of connections, did you know that January 7th marks a significant milestone in communication history?
Really?
On this day, in 1927, the first transatlantic telephone service was established.
Wow, imagine the awe and excitement of that first phone call across the ocean.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate how much technology has evolved and how it continues to shape our world. But on a less positive note, we see another headline related to cost increases. Aba Power raises electricity tariff by over 50%.
This is a significant development, especially for residents and businesses in Aba.
Yeah.
Reliable and affordable electricity is crucial for economic development, and this kind of price hike could have a real ripple effect on local communities and businesses.
It seems like we're seeing a recurring theme of economic challenges in these headlines.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, we touched on the Dangote refinery and the marketer concerns, but there are other financial developments worth exploring. We're seeing lawsuits against the central bank, concerns about oil production levels, and of course the protests over unpaid entitlements.
Right.
It paints a rather complicated economic picture, wouldn't you say?
It certainly does. The government is facing a difficult task trying to manage a massive budget, which is evident in the headline, Senate, House begin work on N49.7 Murai 2025 budget estimates. Allocating such a large sum of money is a complex process with many competing interests and priorities.
And we see hints of that complexity in another headline, 2025 budget will allocate funds based on satisfactory assessment EVREPS, which suggests a degree of scrutiny and accountability in how funds are being used.
That's right. There will likely be a lot of debate and negotiation as the government attempts to balance various needs while also addressing the underlying economic challenges.
So while there are some positive signs of economic diversification, there are also significant hurdles to overcome.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that economic challenges often go hand in hand with political challenges. We see that in a headline like, I've received death threats over my comment on Tinubu Gofdobi.
That's incredibly concerning. It points to a politically charged environment where expressing dissenting views can carry serious risks.
Right.
And then there's the ongoing legal battle surrounding Nnamdi Kanu, with Abaribe stating, I am hopeful Tinubu will release Nnamdi Kanu. Can you remind us who Nnamdi Kanu is and why this case is so significant?
Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, a group that advocates for the secession of the southeastern region of Nigeria. His arrest and detention have been a source of tension and controversy, and this statement by Abaribe highlights the hopes of some for his release under the incoming Tinubu administration.
So even as Nigeria navigates economic complexities, it's also grappling with these deep-seated political and ethnic divisions. It feels like the country is at a crossroads.
It's a reminder that progress is often nonlinear with setbacks and challenges along the way. And sometimes these challenges are deeply intertwined with historical and social factors.
Before we move on, there's one more headline that caught my attention. Cult clash. Ida Tiwo declares curfew as mother, baby, others killed. This is a stark reminder of the violence and insecurity that many Nigerians face on a daily basis.
It's a tragic situation that underscores the need for effective law enforcement and conflict resolution strategies, especially at the local level. It's a reminder that the big picture issues we're discussing have very real consequences for individuals and communities.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective.
Absolutely.
When we think about, the human cost of these issues, as we step back from this deep dive into January 7th, 2025 in Nigeria,
Right.
what are the key takeaways for you? What should our listener be thinking about?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that Nigeria, like many nations around the world, is facing a complex web of interconnected challenges.
Yeah.
Economic instability, political tensions, and security threats. They all feed into each other.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where all the pieces are constantly shifting.
Exactly. But amidst these challenges, we also see glimmers of hope. The growth of non-oil exports, for example, and the investment in youth empowerment.
Yeah.
These are positive signs that shouldn't be overlooked.
It's like finding those tiny wildflowers pushing through cracks in the pavement.
Mm-hmm.
They remind us that resilience and positive change are possible, even in the most challenging circumstances.
This deep dive has really highlighted the importance of looking beyond the headlines and understanding the nuances of a situation. It's easy to form opinions based on surface-level information, but it's crucial to dig deeper, consider different perspectives, and recognize the human stories behind the news.
It's about moving past those initial reactions and engaging with the world in a more thoughtful and informed way.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question for our listener. What does this snapshot of Nigeria tell us about the broader challenges and opportunities facing African nations in the 21st century?
It's an invitation to keep exploring, to connect the dots, and to see how the issues we've discussed today resonate beyond the borders of Nigeria.
Perhaps you see connections to your own work or personal life. Maybe this deep dive has sparked a new interest or inspired you to learn more about a particular topic.
Whatever it may be, we hope this journey into January 7th, 2025 in Nigeria has left you with a sense of curiosity, a desire to learn more, and a deeper understanding of our complex world. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.